Ted, President Kirchner wants to talk to the British government, but what is there to talk about? It's part of the United Kingdom.
I imagine the same things that the Argentinian government wanted to talk about in the 60s, the 70s, briefly the 80s before fighting broke out. And since a peace settlement was achieved in the Falklands/Malvinas, what they've wanted to talk about ever since, which is sovereignty about those islands down there at the bottom of the South Atlantic.
They want to talk. Britain is obviously putting on a defensive move. I mean, it's not being seen as offensive by Argentina and others at the moment, is it?
Well, you call equipment defensive. It's intended to shoot down equipment which, you know, it is manned by human pilots. So you're talking about death and destruction, albeit not in a way that allows you to go and invade Argentina, for example. So that's a lower level of provocation to the Argentinian government. But the fact is they're digging in, even absent a threat of modernization by the Argentine military forces. And they're talking about spending a total of £180 million over the next decade to do so.
Of course, the Falkland Islands have been attacked before, so maybe the British government's got every reason to think it could happen again?
Well, I'd be surprised if the Argentine government could summon the wherewithal, given its current economic situation. But more to the point, if the British government had been more willing to talk back then and to listen to requests for serious discussions about sovereignty, about these islands down at the bottom of the South Atlantic, which may once have made sense as a coaling station for the Royal Navy, but since that period really don't have much to do with, you know, the mainland UK.
Although the fact that the Falkland Islands themselves voted for British rule, they want to be remaining part of the United Kingdom. So isn't it up to them to decide?
Well, they're British. What would they say? I mean, Argentinians have been excluded from that place ever since it changed hands at gunpoint back in the 19th century. So, you know, is that the fair test of sort of the tail end of colonialization, which is what we're talking about here? We're talking about going to other parts of the world, taking property and holding it, and then by putting British subjects there saying, well, as long as they want to stay, they should stay.
But many would say that's an accepted status quo after all these years. Do you think, and you mentioned the economic crisis, is it perhaps a diversionary measure by Kirchner at the moment to think about other things externally from the country, as it were?
Well, probably. I mean, everyone has a political audience to appeal to. I mean, Prime Minister Thatcher was worried about the political implications of not retaking the Falklands when they were taken bloodlessly back in the early 1980s. So that was a political decision as well. You know, the idea that we had to hold on to, the UK had to hold on to the Falklands, was a political decision.
A lot of rhetoric and clearly very persuasive arguments from both sides. How will all this play out? We will see a change, obviously, of government presidency in Argentina soon. Do you think this could go away or could actually become a bigger problem and lead to perhaps conflict?
I think, as in every case where one side's red lines and wishes are effectively ignored, you're asking for trouble down the road. Now, it's true whether it's NATO talking about Ukraine, it's true whether it's the UK ignoring appeals for real negotiations about sovereignty in the Falkland Islands.
Ted Seay, thank you very much indeed. Great to hear your thoughts on this.
Thank you.